On November 8, 2016, India woke to a surprise. Prime Minister Narendra Modi made a momentous announcement. He declared that 501,000 rupee notes were no longer legal tender. These notes represented 86% of India's cash. This move, dubbed demonetisation, sent shockwaves through the nation. Long queues formed outside banks as people scrambled to exchange their old notes. Modi's stated goals were ambitious. He aimed to combat black money or untaxed wealth. Counterfeit currency and terrorism financing were also in his crosshairs. He envisioned a less cash-dependent India, embracing digital transactions. The move was shrouded in secrecy. It was a decision taken at the highest level with little warning. The Reserve Bank of India, the nation's central bank, had limited time to prepare. This lack of preparedness would have significant consequences. The government set a deadline of December 30th, 2016 to deposit old notes. New 502,000 rupee notes were introduced. However, their supply was inadequate, leading to a severe cash crunch. Modi's demonetisation drive was presented as a moral crusade. It was a fight against corruption and illicit wealth, resonating with a public weary of graft. The move was touted as a surgical strike on black money hoarders. It was believed that those with large sums of unaccounted cash would be unable to deposit it. The government argued that demonetisation would force unaccounted wealth into the formal economy. This, in turn, would boost tax revenue and fund development projects. The move was also expected to cripple terrorist financing and counterfeit operations. The initial public reaction was largely supportive. Many saw it as a bold move against entrenched corruption. Media coverage was dominated by the government's narrative. However, as the reality of cash shortages set in, public opinion began to shift. The inconvenience was undeniable. People struggled to meet their daily needs. Businesses, particularly in the informal sector, suffered due to reduced consumer spending. The agricultural sector, heavily reliant on cash transactions, was severely impacted. The immediate aftermath of demonetisation was marked by chaos and confusion. Banks struggled to handle the deluge of customers seeking to exchange their old notes. Long queues became a common sight, with people spending hours, even days, waiting their turn. ATMs ran dry quickly, further exacerbating the cash crunch. The government imposed withdrawal limits, adding to the frustration. There were reports of people collapsing in queues, unable to access essential goods and services. The economic disruption was immediate and widespread. Businesses, particularly small and medium enterprises, suffered as consumer spending plummeted. The informal sector, largely cash-dependent, was hit particularly hard. Millions of daily wage earners lost their livelihoods. The stock market reacted negatively, with the benchmark indices BSE, Sensex and Nifty 50 plunging over 6%. The rupee also weakened against the US dollar. The initial optimism surrounding demonetisation quickly gave way to uncertainty and anxiety. As the deadline for depositing old notes approached, the government's narrative began to unravel. Contrary to expectations, a staggering 99.3% of the demonetised currency found its way back into the banking system. This indicated that the black money hoarders had found ways to launder their wealth. Only a minuscule 0.7%, amounting to 107.2 billion rupees, was not deposited. This raised serious doubts about the effectiveness of demonetisation in curbing black money. It became evident that the government had underestimated the resourcefulness of those operating in the shadow economy. The government's initial claims of a major victory against black money were met with skepticism. Critics argued that the move had caused significant economic damage without achieving its intended goals. The focus shifted to the unintended consequences of demonetisation. The cash crunch had a disproportionate impact on the poor and marginalised. Small businesses, farmers and daily wage earners bore the brunt of the disruption. The informal sector, a significant contributor to India's economy, was severely impacted. The demonetisation drive had a significant impact on the Indian economy. GDP growth slowed down from 8% in 2015 to 2016 to 7.1% in 2016 to 2017. The manufacturing sector contracted, with the Purchasing Managers' Index, or PMI, falling to a 3-year low. The informal sector, which employs a large portion of the workforce, was severely affected. Millions of jobs were lost, particularly in the construction and textile industries. The agricultural sector, already grappling with a drought, faced further distress due to the cash crunch. While the government argued that the economic slowdown was temporary, critics argued that demonetisation had exacerbated existing structural weaknesses. The move was seen as a major policy blunder that had set back India's economic progress. The long-term impact of demonetisation on the Indian economy is still being debated. Some economists argue that it had a cleansing effect, forcing businesses to formalise and adopt digital transactions. Others maintain that the costs of demonetisation far outweighed any potential benefits. Section 6. The digital surge. One of the unintended consequences of demonetisation was a surge in digital transactions. With cash in short supply, people turned to mobile wallets, debit cards, and online banking to make payments. This provided a significant boost to India's nascent digital economy. Mobile wallet companies like Paytm and PhonePe witnessed exponential growth in user base and transaction volumes. The government also launched initiatives like BHM Bharat Interface for Money to promote digital payments. While the initial surge in digital transactions moderated as cash returned to circulation, it created a lasting impact on payment behavior. More and more businesses, even in smaller towns and villages, began accepting digital payments. The government's push for a less cash economy gained momentum after demonetisation. However, challenges remain in terms of digital literacy, infrastructure, and cybersecurity. Bridging the digital divide is crucial for ensuring that the benefits of a digital economy reach all sections of society. Section 7. Counterfeit Conundrum. One of the stated objectives of demonetisation was to curb counterfeit currency. While there was an initial decline in counterfeit notes, it proved to be short-lived. Counterfeiters quickly adapted to the new currency notes, and fake 502,000 rupee notes surfaced. The Reserve Bank of India reported an increase in the detection of counterfeit notes in subsequent years. This indicated that demonetisation had not been effective in eliminating the problem of fake currency. The government's move to introduce new currency notes also created logistical challenges. The RBI had to print and distribute a massive volume of new notes, which proved to be a daunting task. The shortage of new notes contributed to the cash crunch in the initial months after demonetisation. The demonetisation exercise highlighted the challenges in combating counterfeiting. It requires a multi-pronged approach, including advanced security features, robust law enforcement, and public awareness campaigns. Section 8. Taxing times. Another stated objective of demonetisation was to broaden the tax base and increase tax compliance. The government argued that forcing people to deposit their unaccounted cash in banks would bring it under the tax net. While there was a temporary spike in tax collections following demonetisation, it did not translate into a sustained increase in the tax-to-GDP ratio. The government's efforts to unearth black money through scrutiny of bank deposits yielded limited results. Critics argued that demonetisation had not addressed the root causes of tax evasion, such as complex tax laws, corruption, and a lack of trust in the tax administration. They advocated for comprehensive tax reforms and stricter enforcement to improve tax compliance. The demonetisation exercise highlighted the need for a more efficient and equitable tax system in India. Simplifying tax laws, reducing exemptions, and improving tax administration are crucial for broadening the tax base and enhancing revenue collection. Section 9. Legacy of disruption. 7 years on, the legacy of demonetisation in India remains a subject of intense debate. Its stated objectives of curbing black money, eliminating counterfeit currency, and choking terrorist funding remain largely unmet. The economic disruption caused by the move was significant, particularly for the poor and the informal sector. However, demonetisation did have some unintended positive consequences. It accelerated the adoption of digital payments, pushing India towards a less cash economy. It also highlighted the need for structural reforms in the Indian economy, particularly in the areas of taxation and financial inclusion. The demonetisation saga serves as a cautionary tale of the complexities of economic policymaking. It underscores the importance of careful planning, effective implementation, and a realistic assessment of potential costs and benefits. Whether demonetisation was a bold move or a blunder is a question that will continue to be debated for years to come. Its legacy will be shaped by how India addresses the challenges it has exposed and leverages the opportunities it has created.